Who sent you? He slammed her face into the concrete wall. Blood splattered across the pristine floor of the Tactical Operations Center. 12 Navy SEALs surrounded her, weapons drawn, convinced this young woman was an enemy spy who had infiltrated the most secure training facility in America. But Senior Chief Marcus Brennan had just made the worst mistake of his 18-year career. The 20-year-old woman he was brutalizing had spent 3 years secretly designing the combat curriculum that half the men in that room had learned. Naval Special Warfare Compound, Virginia Beach. Present day. If you are watching from anywhere in the world, subscribe now and stay until the end. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. What happened next would change everything these warriors believed about strength, about women, and about themselves. The rope cut into her wrists like fire. Kira Volkov kept her breathing steady. In through the nose, 4 counts. Out through the mouth, 4 counts. The same rhythm her father had taught her when she was 6 years old, sitting on a mat in their garage in Japan, while he explained that panic was the enemy of survival. She was 20 years old. She had pale blonde hair cut short enough to fit under a helmet. Her eyes were the color of winter ice, and right now they were watching Senior Chief Marcus Brennan with the patience of someone who had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. I asked you a question. Brennan grabbed her jaw and forced her head up. His fingers dug into the bruises already forming on her cheeks. Who sent you? My orders are signed by Admiral Hayes, Kira said. Her voice didn't waver. Joint Special Operations Command. You can verify with 1 phone call. Already tried. Brennan released her jaw and pulled a crumpled document from his pocket. Your orders are fake. Your credentials are fabricated. And your cover story has more holes than a practice target. He threw the papers in her face. Kira didn't flinch. She had expected this. The documents in Brennan's hand weren't her actual orders. Someone had intercepted them. Someone had replaced them with forgeries designed to make her look like exactly what Brennan feared most, an infiltrator. Those aren't my orders, she said calmly. Brennan laughed. It was an ugly sound, filled with 18 years of war and 12 months of paranoia. That's what a spy would say. That's what anyone would say if you showed them forged documents. He hit her. The blow snapped her head to the side. She tasted copper, but she didn't cry out. She had taken harder hits in training. She had taken harder hits from men twice Brennan's size, and she had never once given them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Senior Chief, a voice from behind. Younger. Uncertain. Maybe we should wait for command to shut up, Cole. Brennan didn't turn around. I've seen what happens when we wait. I've buried friends because someone waited for verification instead of acting. Kira filed away the name. Cole. She remembered a petty officer, Dylan Cole, from the training records. Class of 2022. Exceptional scores in close quarters combat. One of the few students who had asked questions during her anonymous lectures instead of just absorbing information. He had potential. She had noted it in his file. Right now, Dylan Cole was standing near the door with 11 other SEALs watching his senior chief beat a bound woman, and she could see the conflict in his eyes. He knew this was wrong, but he didn't know how to stop it. She didn't blame him. She had been in that position once. Watching something terrible happen and feeling powerless to intervene. That was before she learned that powerlessness was a choice. Let me explain something to you. Brennan crouched in front of her, bringing his face close to hers. His breath smelled like coffee and exhaustion. Last year I lost 2 brothers in Afghanistan. An insider attack. Someone we trusted. Someone who had passed every screening, every verification, every background check. He smiled at us for 6 months, and then he opened a door and let the enemy walk right in. His voice cracked. I held Danny Morrison while he bled out. I told him help was coming. I lied to him because help wasn't coming because the man who was supposed to call for backup was the same man who had betrayed us. Kira met his eyes. For the first time, she saw past the aggression and the paranoia. She saw grief. Raw and unprocessed and festering. She knew that grief. She carried her own version of it. I'm sorry about your brothers, she said quietly. Brennan's jaw tightened. I don't want your sorry. I want answers. Then let me give you answers. But not like this. Not with me tied to a chair while you don't get to negotiate. He stood abruptly. You're not in a position to negotiate anything. I'm in exactly the position I need to be. The words hung in the air. Brennan stared at her. The other SEALs shifted uncomfortably. Something about her tone had changed. Something about the way she held herself, even bound and bleeding, suggested that the power dynamic in this room was not what it appeared to be. What did you just say? Kira tilted her head slightly. I said I'm exactly where I need to be, Senior Chief. The question is whether you're going to let me complete my mission, or whether you're going to force me to complete it the hard way. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Brennan laughed again. But this time there was something different in the sound. A thread of uncertainty. Your mission? Right. And what exactly is your mission, gathering intelligence, sabotaging our systems, or just seeing how far you can push before we... My mission is to evaluate this team's readiness for deployment. Kira's voice was steady. And so far, Senior Chief, you're failing every metric I have. The temperature in the room dropped. Dylan Cole sucked in a breath. He had heard those words before, 3 years ago, during the most intense training of his life. An anonymous voice through a speaker system had used exactly that phrase during the final evaluation. You're failing every metric I have. The voice had been distorted, mechanized, impossible to identify. But the rhythm was the same. The cadence, the particular way of emphasizing certain words. He looked at the bound woman more carefully. Her breathing was controlled. Too controlled. Her muscles were relaxed in a way that suggested training, not fear. And when Brennan had hit her, she had rolled with the impact exactly the way he had been taught to absorb strikes during hand-to-hand combat instruction. She was small, young, female. Everything that didn't belong in this world of killers. But something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. Senior Chief, Dylan said again. His voice was stronger now. I think we need to stop. I told you to shut up, Cole. And I'm telling you that something isn't right here. Dylan stepped forward. He could feel the other SEALs watching him. He knew he was risking his career, his reputation, everything he had worked for, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. Look at her. Really look at her. Brennan turned. His expression was dangerous. You want to explain to me why you're defending a suspected infiltrator? Because she's not scared. Dylan gestured toward Kira. She's been here for an hour. You've hit her. You've threatened her. You've done everything short of waterboarding, and she hasn't once asked for mercy. She hasn't once tried to bargain. She hasn't once shown any sign of fear. He took another step forward. In my experience, there are only 2 types of people who react that way. Trained operatives who know they'll be extracted, or people who are exactly where they want to be. Silence. Kira watched Dylan with new interest. He was smarter than his file suggested, more observant. He had taken the analytical skills she had tried to teach in her lectures and applied them to a real-world situation. She was almost proud. "She's playing you," Brennan said. But there was doubt in his voice now. "She's trained to resist interrogation. That's what operatives do." "Then why hasn't she tried to escape?" Dylan pointed at her wrists. "Those restraints are standard paracord. She's been working on them since she got here. I can see the rope fibers loosening. She could have been free 20 minutes ago, but she's still sitting there." Brennan looked at Kira's wrists. Dylan was right. The restraints were loose. She had been working them systematically, creating enough slack to slip free whenever she chose. She hadn't chosen. "Why?" Brennan's voice was barely a whisper. "Why would you stay?" Kira met his eyes. "Because I needed to see how far you would go." "What?" "I needed to see what kind of leader you are, Senior Chief. Whether you're someone who acts on evidence and training, or someone who acts on fear and trauma." She paused. "I needed to know if you were worth saving." "Worth saving?" Brennan's face contorted. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Before Kira could answer, the lights went out. Emergency klaxons shattered the silence. Red warning lights strobed through the darkness. Somewhere outside, automatic weapons fire erupted in controlled bursts. "Contact! We have contact on the perimeter!" The voice crackled through the intercom. More gunfire. Closer now. "They're breaching the north wall. Multiple hostiles, professional tactics we need." The transmission cut to static. Brennan forgot about Kira instantly. His training took over. "Cole, grab your weapon and secure that door. Martinez, get me eyes on the exterior cameras. Jenkins, raise command on the emergency frequency." The SEALs moved with practiced efficiency. Whatever their personal feelings about the interrogation, they were professionals. When the shooting started, everything else became secondary. Dylan grabbed his M4 from where it leaned against the wall. But before he joined the others, he looked back at Kira. She was already free. The ropes lay in a pile at her feet. She stood calmly, rolling her shoulders, flexing her wrists where the restraints had cut into her skin. "How long?" Dylan asked. "Since the first 5 minutes." She met his eyes. "Like you said, I was exactly where I wanted to be." "Who are you?" The question hung between them while gunfire echoed through the compound. Kira walked past him toward the weapons rack against the far wall. She selected an M4 with quick professional movements, checking the chamber, adjusting the sights, slapping in a fresh magazine. "You already know who I am, Petty Officer Cole." She turned to face him. "You've known since I used that phrase about failing metrics. You just don't want to believe it." Dylan's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. The Phantom is a man older, someone who looks like they belong in a room full of warriors." Kira's smile was thin. "That's what everyone assumes. That's why it works." More explosions outside. The building shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Phantom has been training SEALs for 3 years, Dylan said. "The program started in 2022. You would have been 17. Kira nodded. "I was 17 when I designed the combat curriculum that saved your life in Mogadishu. I was 18 when I developed the CQB protocols that your team used in Yemen. I was 19 when I wrote the psychological resilience manual that every candidate in this compound has memorized." She chambered around. "And I'm 20 now, which means I've been doing this job for 3 years while everyone assumed I was a middle-aged man with decades of experience." She looked at him. "Assumptions are dangerous things, Petty Officer Cole. That's the first lesson I teach. It's also the lesson most people forget." Dylan stared at her. His mind was racing, trying to reconcile everything he knew about the Phantom with the young woman standing in front of him. The Phantom was legendary, a ghost who had single-handedly revolutionized SEAL hand-to-hand combat training. Someone whose techniques had been adopted by special operations units across 5 countries. Someone whose identity was so classified that even senior officers didn't have access to the file. And she was 20 years old. "Why?" he finally asked. "Why hide who you are?" Kira's expression flickered. For just a moment, Dylan saw something behind the mask. Pain. Old and deep. Because 3 years ago, someone murdered my father and made it look like an accident. The only way I could investigate was from the inside. And the only way to get inside was to become someone they would never suspect. She paused. Project Phantom wasn't just a training program. It was a cover for finding my father's killers. The gunfire was getting closer. "Senior Chief," Martinez shouted from his position near the monitors. "We've got at least 20 hostiles inside the perimeter. They're moving in organized teams. These aren't amateurs." Brennan was barking orders coordinating the defense. He hadn't noticed that Kira was free. He hadn't noticed that Dylan was standing frozen near the door, his entire world view crumbling around him. "The people attacking this compound," Dylan said slowly. "They're connected to your father's death. The man who orchestrated my father's murder is in this building right now." Kira's voice was ice. "Master Chief Warren Drake. He's been selling classified combat techniques to foreign governments for the past 6 years. He arranged this attack to eliminate me and destroy the evidence I've been gathering." She moved toward the door. "Where are you going? To end this?" She looked back at him one final time. "You have a choice, Petty Officer Cole. Stay here and follow Brennan's orders, or come with me and learn the truth about what's really happening in this compound." Another explosion. Closer. "I can't promise you'll survive. I can't promise any of this will make sense. But I can promise you one thing." Her eyes met his. "Everything I've ever taught you has been preparing you for a moment like this. The question is whether you're ready to use it." She disappeared through the door. Dylan stood frozen. His M4 felt heavy in his hands. Behind him, Brennan was screaming orders. In front of him, a young woman who had apparently been training warriors since she was a teenager was walking into a firefight alone. He thought about the 3 years of training. The techniques that had become second nature. The voice through the speakers that had pushed him harder than anyone ever had. The measure of a warrior is not how many enemies they destroy. It's how many people they help become better. He had memorized those words. He had recited them during his lowest moments. He had believed them even when he didn't understand where they came from. Now he knew. "Cole," Brennan's voice cut through his thoughts. "Get your ass over here." Dylan looked at his senior chief. Then he looked at the door Kira had walked through. "I'm sorry, Senior Chief," he said. And he followed the Phantom into the darkness. The hallway was chaos. Emergency lights painted everything in shades of red and shadow. Gunfire echoed from multiple directions. Dylan could hear screaming somewhere, the sound of men dying. Kira moved like water. That was the only way he could describe it. She flowed through the space, her weapon up her movements, precise. Every step was deliberate. Every turn was calculated. She wasn't running toward the sound of gunfire. She was navigating it, finding the gaps in the violence, threading through the chaos like she had done it 100 times before. Maybe she had. "Stay close," she said, without looking back. "And keep your mouth shut until I tell you otherwise." "Where are we going?" "I said keep your mouth shut." Dylan shut his mouth. They moved through a maze of corridors. Twice they encountered hostiles men in black tactical gear who died before they could raise their weapons. Dylan barely saw Kira move. One moment the enemies were there. The next they were on the ground. She didn't use her rifle. She used her hands. Dylan recognized the techniques. He had practiced them himself. But watching Kira execute them was like watching the difference between a student musician and a master pianist playing the same notes. The fundamentals were identical. The execution was otherworldly. "Control room," Kira said, pausing at an intersection. 30 meters ahead on the left. That's where Drake will be coordinating the attack. "How do you know?" "Because it's where I would be." She checked her magazine. "Drake is arrogant, but he's not stupid. He won't leave the compound during the attack. He needs to make sure I'm dead before the evidence surfaces." "What evidence?" Kira reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. A flash drive. It looked ordinary, the kind you could buy at any electronics store. Financial records, communications logs, coordinates of every SEAL team that was compromised because of techniques Drake sold. Her jaw tightened. "My father discovered what Drake was doing. That's why Drake had him killed." Dylan stared at the flash drive. Such a small thing. Such massive consequences. "If you've had that evidence for 3 years, why haven't you turned it in?" "Because Drake has protection. Senior officers who benefit from his network. Politicians who look the other way. I needed proof that couldn't be denied. I needed to catch him in the act." She gestured toward the sounds of battle. "This is him in the act. He arranged an attack on American soil to eliminate one person. There's no talking his way out of that." Footsteps, coming fast. Kira pushed Dylan against the wall and pressed herself beside him. Her hand went to his chest, holding him still. Her eyes tracked the movement around the corner. 2 hostiles, moving fast. Professional spacing. She held up 2 fingers. Pointed left, then right. Dylan nodded. He understood. When the hostiles came around the corner, they died in less than 3 seconds. Dylan had his target on the ground before conscious thought caught up. The training took over. The muscle memory. Everything Kira had taught without him knowing who was teaching. "Good," she said. Just that. 1 word. But it was enough. They kept moving. The control room was guarded. 4 men with heavy weapons. They had created a defensive perimeter covering all approaches. Dylan counted angles. There was no clean approach. Any assault would result in casualties. "There's no way through," he whispered. "There's always a way through." Kira studied the layout for exactly 3 seconds. "You're going to create a distraction. I'm going to handle the rest." "What kind of distraction?" She handed him a flashbang from her vest. "You have 4 seconds after detonation. Don't waste them." "Wait. You're going in alone against 4 armed..." She was already moving. Dylan watched her disappear into the shadows along the far wall. She moved without sound, without any indication that a human being was passing through space. It was unnatural. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. It was... He counted to 3. Then he pulled the pin on the flashbang and threw it around the corner. The explosion was deafening. Dylan came around the corner with his weapon up. 1 hostile was down, clutching his ears. Dylan put 2 rounds in his chest. A second hostile was turning his vision, still scrambled from the flash. He never completed the turn. Kira came out of nowhere. She hit the second man low, sweeping his legs, and drove her elbow into his throat as he fell. The third hostile tried to bring his weapon around. She was faster. She caught the barrel, redirected it, used his own momentum to spin him into the 4th man. Both went down. Neither got up. Dylan stood frozen, his weapon still raised, staring at the aftermath. 4 seconds, Kira said calmly. "You took 3.7. Not bad." She stepped over the bodies and pushed open the control room door. Master Chief Warren Drake was waiting inside. He was older than Dylan expected. Mid-50s with gray hair cut military short, and the build of a man who had spent decades in special operations. His uniform was immaculate despite the chaos outside. His hands were clasped behind his back. He was smiling. Kira Volkov. Drake shook his head slowly. Victor's daughter. I wondered when you would finally make your move. Kira raised her weapon. On your knees, hands behind your head. You're not going to shoot me. Drake's smile widened. You've had 3 years to kill me. If that was your goal, I'd be dead already. No, you want something else. You want justice. You want the world to know what I did. He spread his hands. So here I am, ready to confess. This isn't a negotiation. Everything is a negotiation, child. Drake's eyes flicked to Dylan, then back to Kira. Does he know? Does he understand what you really are? Dylan felt the weight of the question. What is he talking about? Tell him. Drake's voice was soft, almost gentle. Tell him what his precious phantom really is. Tell him about the project that created you. Kira's finger tightened on the trigger. Shut up. Your father didn't just train you. Drake took a step forward. He engineered you. Diet, sleep, exercise, psychological conditioning, every moment of your life was designed to create the perfect warrior. You're not natural, Kira. You're a weapon that learned how to walk and talk. Dylan looked at Kira. Her face was stone, but something flickered in her eyes. Pain. My father loved me, she said quietly. Your father used you. Drake took another step. Just like the military uses all of us. The only difference is that Victor started earlier. He saw your potential before you could even speak. He molded you into something inhuman. Another step. And then he died, and you inherited his obsession. 3 years of hiding. 3 years of teaching soldiers from behind a screen because you're afraid of what they might see if they looked at you directly. I said shut up. You're afraid of me. You're afraid of them. But most of all, you're afraid of yourself. Drake was close now. Too close. Because you know what you're capable of. You know the darkness that lives inside you. And you know that one day it's going to consume everything you... Kira moved. Dylan didn't see the strike. He saw Drake's head snap back. He saw the Master Chief crumple to the ground. He saw Kira standing over him, breathing hard, her fist still raised. Drake laughed through bloody teeth. There she is, he whispered. There's the weapon Victor created. I'm not a weapon. Kira's voice shook. For the first time since Dylan had met her, she sounded uncertain. I'm not what he made me. Then prove it. Drake's eyes locked with hers. I'm unarmed. I'm beaten. The evidence you need is on that computer behind me. You've won. He smiled. So what are you going to do now? Kill me? Prove that everything I said about you is true? Kira stared at him. Her hand trembled. Dylan stepped forward. Kira. She didn't respond. Kira. He touched her arm. Gently. This is the part where you prove him wrong. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly Kira lowered her fist. She stepped back from Drake. She turned toward the computer and began downloading the files. Her hands were still shaking. Drake laughed again softly. You think this is over? You think you've won? I think you're going to spend the rest of your life in military prison, Kira said without turning around. And I think that's worse than death for someone like you. Someone like me. Drake's laughter died. Child, you have no idea what someone like me is capable of. This attack was just the beginning. The network I built will continue without me. The techniques I sold have already spread to places you can't imagine. And the men who protect me... He stopped. His eyes went to the door. Admiral Catherine Hayes stood in the entrance, flanked by 4 military police officers. Her uniform was pristine. Her expression was granite. "Master Chief Warren Drake," she said. "You are under arrest for treason, conspiracy to commit murder, and the unauthorized disclosure of classified information." Drake's face went white. "The network you built has been dismantled," Hayes continued. "Your protectors have been identified and detained, and the evidence that Viktor Volkov gathered before his death, combined with what his daughter has collected over the past 3 years, will ensure that you never see daylight again." She stepped aside. "Take him." The MPs moved forward. Drake didn't resist. The fight had gone out of him. Whatever he had expected from this night, it wasn't this. As they dragged him past Kira, he stopped. "Your father would be proud," he said quietly. "He created exactly what he intended to create." Kira didn't look at him, but Dylan saw her flinch. After Drake was gone, Admiral Hayes approached Kira. Her expression softened just slightly. "It's done," she said. "Victor can rest now." Kira nodded, but she didn't speak. Hayes looked at Dylan. "You followed her, against orders, into a situation you didn't understand." Dylan straightened. "Yes, ma'am." "Why?" He thought about the question, about everything that had happened, about the training that had prepared him for tonight without him ever knowing its source. "Because she was right," he said finally. "And because following the wrong orders doesn't make you a good soldier. It just makes you complicit." Hayes studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Victor used to say the same thing." She turned back to Kira. "We need to debrief. But first there's someone who wants to see you." "Who?" Hayes stepped aside. Marcus Brennan stood in the doorway. His face was pale, his hands were shaking. He looked at Kira with an expression Dylan had never seen from his senior chief before. Fear, guilt, and something that might have been shame. "I didn't know," Brennan whispered. "I didn't know who you were, what you'd done, the men you'd trained." He swallowed. "The men I trained under were your students. The techniques that kept my team alive in Afghanistan, you developed them. You saved us before we ever met, and I—" His voice broke. "I hurt you. I looked at you and saw an enemy because you were young, because you were female, because you didn't look like what I expected a warrior to look like." He took a shaking breath. "I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything. I know I can't undo what I did. But I need you to know that I'm sorry." Kira stood very still. Dylan watched her. He saw the bruises on her face, the cuts on her wrists, the exhaustion in her eyes. He saw everything she had endured tonight and everything she had endured for the 3 years before. And he saw the moment when she made her choice. "I don't forgive you," she said quietly. Brennan flinched. "I don't forgive you because forgiveness isn't something you earn in a single moment. It's something you build through actions, through choices, through becoming the person you claim you want to be." She met his eyes. "But I'm giving you the chance to try." Brennan stared at her. "What happened tonight doesn't define you. It reveals you. It shows you what you're capable of when fear takes control." Kira's voice was steady now. "The question is what you're going to do with that knowledge. Are you going to let it destroy you? Or are you going to use it to become better?" She turned toward the door. "I'll be at Fort Bragg for the next 6 months developing the new training protocols. If you want to learn how to be the leader your sister believed you were, you know where to find me." She paused at the threshold. "And Brennan, the men who served under you tonight, they're watching. They're waiting to see what kind of man you really are. Don't disappoint them." She walked out into the dawn. Dylan watched her go. Then he looked at Brennan. His senior chief was crying silently, tears streaming down a face that had seen too much war and not enough healing. "Senior Chief," Dylan said quietly. Brennan looked at him. "She gave you a chance. That's more than most people would do. He shouldered his weapon. I suggest you take it. He followed Kira into the light. The morning air hit Kira's face like a slap. She kept walking, past the destroyed perimeter fence, past the bodies being loaded into trucks, past the medics working on wounded soldiers who had no idea that the woman walking by them had saved their lives 100 times before they ever met her. Dylan caught up to her near the east gate. Where are you going? Away! That's not an answer. Kira stopped. She turned to face him, and for the first time Dylan saw the cracks in her armor. The exhaustion. The pain that went deeper than the bruises on her face. I've been waiting 3 years for tonight, she said quietly. 3 years of hiding. 3 years of watching. 3 years of pretending to be something I'm not. Her voice wavered. And now it's over, and I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel like you won. Do I look like I won? Dylan studied her. The blood on her shirt. The rope burns on her wrists. The haunted look in her eyes that he recognized from soldiers who had seen too much combat, too young. You look like someone who needs to sit down before she falls down. Kira laughed. It was a broken sound, nothing like the controlled professional he had seen in the control room. You're not what I expected, she said. Neither are you. They stood there for a moment, 2 soldiers who had just survived something that would take years to process. Then Kira's knees buckled. Dylan caught her before she hit the ground. Easy. He lowered her gently, supporting her weight. When's the last time you slept? What day is it? Wednesday. Then Sunday. Maybe Saturday. 4 days. Dylan's voice cracked. You've been awake for 4 days. The attack was supposed to happen Monday, then Tuesday. Drake kept changing the timeline. She closed her eyes. I couldn't risk sleeping. Couldn't risk missing it. You could have died. I almost did. Several times. She opened her eyes. But I didn't. And now Drake is in custody, and the evidence is secured, and my father's name will finally be cleared. Her voice broke on the last word. Dylan didn't know what to say. He had trained under the Phantom for months. He had memorized techniques that had saved his life in combat. He had recited mantras about warrior spirit and mental resilience, but none of that training had prepared him for this, for the reality that his legendary instructor was a 20-year-old woman who had just collapsed from exhaustion after a 3-year mission to avenge her father's murder. Tell me about him, Dylan said quietly. Your father. Kira was silent for so long that he thought she wouldn't answer. Then she started talking. His name was Kira Volkov. He escaped from Ukraine when he was 19. Walked across 3 countries with nothing but the clothes on his back and a determination that borders couldn't contain. Her voice steadied as she spoke, as if the memory of her father was an anchor. He joined the Navy the day he got his citizenship, said he wanted to protect the country that gave him a second chance. He served for 28 years, most of it in special operations, deployments to places that still aren't declassified. He sounds like a legend, sounds like a... He was. Kira's eyes were distant. But to me, he was just Dad. The man who made pancakes on Sunday mornings. The man who taught me how to ride a bike. The man who sat with me when I had nightmares and told me stories about brave warriors until I fell asleep. She paused. He started training me when I was 4. Not because he wanted a soldier. Because he had seen what the world did to women who couldn't defend themselves. He wanted me to be able to protect myself, to never be a victim. 4 years old, Dylan repeated. That's young. He made it a game at first, wrestling on the mats in our garage, learning how to fall without getting hurt, how to break a grip, how to escape from holds. Her lips curved slightly. By the time I was 10, I could take down boys twice my size. By 14, I was competing nationally. By 16, I was sparring with SEAL candidates. And winning, always winning. There was no pride in her voice, just fact. My father used to say I had a gift, not just physical. I could read people, predict their movements before they made them, understand their psychology in ways that took most fighters decades to learn. Dylan nodded slowly. He had experienced that gift firsthand during training. The Phantom had always seemed to know what mistakes students would make before they made them, had always known exactly what words would push them past their limits. Now he understood why. "What happened?" he asked. "To your father?" Kira's expression changed. The softness disappeared. Something harder took its place. 3 years ago, he discovered that someone inside Naval Special Warfare was selling classified combat techniques to foreign governments, techniques he had developed, techniques that were getting American operators killed because the enemy knew how to counter them. Drake. She spat the name. My father gathered evidence. He was going to expose everything, but Drake found out. He arranged an accident during a training exercise, made it look like equipment failure. Her hands clenched into fists. I was 17. I buried my father at Arlington. Full military honors, flag-draped coffin, 21-gun salute. Her voice was bitter. Everyone talked about what a hero he was, how he died serving his country. No one knew the truth. No one except me. How did you know? Because my father told me. Kira looked at him. The night before he died, he gave me a flash drive. Said if anything happened to him, I should take it to Admiral Hayes. Said she was the only one he trusted. But you didn't. I couldn't. Drake had too much protection. Senior officers, politicians, people who benefited from his network. She shook her head. If I had gone public with what I knew, I would have been discredited. Silenced. Maybe killed. So you became the Phantom. Admiral Hayes created the program, gave me a way to operate inside the system while staying invisible. For 3 years, I trained soldiers during the day and investigated Drake at night. Her jaw tightened. I built a network of contacts, gathered more evidence, mapped out every corrupt officer in his organization. And you did all of this while you were still a teenager. I did what I had to do. Her eyes met his. My father gave his life trying to protect people. I wasn't going to let his sacrifice mean nothing. Dylan was quiet for a moment, processing everything he had heard. The things Drake said, he finally said. About your father engineering you. About you being a weapon. Kira flinched. Was any of that true? She didn't answer immediately. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. My father trained me harder than anyone else he ever taught. He pushed me further, expected more. Some people might call that engineering. She swallowed. But he also loved me. He was there for every birthday, every nightmare, every moment when I wanted to quit. He wasn't creating a weapon. He was preparing his daughter for a world he knew could be cruel. There's a difference. Sometimes I'm not sure. She looked at her hands. Sometimes I look at what I can do, the things I've done, and I wonder if Drake was right, if there's something broken inside me, something that isn't quite human. Dylan reached out and took her hand. You saved lives tonight. You could have killed Drake, but you didn't. You gave Brennan a chance to be better instead of destroying him. He squeezed gently. Those aren't the actions of a weapon. Those are the actions of someone with more humanity than most people I've ever met. Kira stared at their joined hands. You barely know me. I know enough. Before she could respond, footsteps approached. Admiral Hayes appeared, her face grim. We have a problem. Kira was on her feet instantly, the exhaustion forgotten. What kind of problem? Drake requested to speak with me. Said he has information about an imminent attack. Something bigger than tonight. He's lying, trying to negotiate. Maybe. Hayes's expression was troubled. But he mentioned a name, a codename I haven't heard in 15 years. What codename? Hayes hesitated. Then she said a single word that made Kira's blood run cold. Winterkill. Dylan didn't recognize the word, but he saw Kira's reaction, the color draining from her face, the way her hands started to shake. That's impossible, Kira whispered. Winterkill was shut down. My father helped dismantle it. That's what we thought. Hayes looked old suddenly, tired. But if Drake is telling the truth, someone reactivated the program, and whatever they're planning makes tonight look like a training exercise. What's Winterkill? Dylan asked. Neither woman answered him immediately. Finally, Kira spoke. Her voice was flat, empty. Winterkill was a black ops program designed to identify and train child soldiers for deep cover operations. The idea was to create operatives so young that no one would ever suspect them. Kids who could infiltrate organizations, gather intelligence, and if necessary, eliminate targets. Dylan felt sick. Child soldiers in America. It was shut down in 2008 after my father discovered what they were really doing. Kira's jaw clenched. The children weren't just being trained, they were being conditioned. Psychological manipulation, chemical enhancement. Some of them didn't survive the process. And you think someone brought it back? If Drake mentioned Winterkill, it's because he knows something. Kira turned to Hayes. I need to talk to him. Absolutely not. Hayes shook her head. You've been through enough tonight. We have interrogators who... Your interrogators don't know what to ask. I do. Kira's eyes were hard. My father died trying to stop that program. If it's back, I need to know. Kira. Admiral. Her voice cut like a blade. I've earned this. Hayes stared at her for a long moment. Something passed between them. An understanding that went deeper than rank or protocol. Fine, but I'm coming with you. And if he says anything that seems like a manipulation, we walk out. Understood. Dylan stepped forward. I'm coming too. Both women looked at him. With respect, Petty Officer Cole, this doesn't concern you, Hayes said. She saved my life tonight. Multiple times. Dylan met the Admiral's eyes without flinching. I'm not leaving her side until this is over. Hayes raised an eyebrow. She looked at Kira. Kira studied Dylan for a moment. Something flickered in her expression. Not quite trust, but something close to it. Let him come, she said. He's already in this deeper than he knows. They found Drake in a holding cell beneath the compound. His wrists were shackled. His nose was broken from where Kira had hit him, but his smile was intact. The prodigy returns. He leaned back against the wall. I knew you couldn't stay away. Talk, Kira said. Winterkill. What do you know? Straight to business. Your father was the same way. Drake's smile widened. Never time for pleasantries with the Volkov family. You have 30 seconds before I walk out and let the professionals handle you. The professionals? Drake laughed. The professionals have been trying to break networks like mine for decades. They've never come close. You know why? Because they follow rules. They respect boundaries. They believe the system actually works. 20 seconds. Fine. Drake's expression changed. The mockery faded. Something darker took its place. Winterkill wasn't just reactivated, it evolved. The original program was sloppy. Too many loose ends, too many failures. The new version is cleaner, more efficient, better hidden. Who's running it? Someone your father trusted. Someone inside the highest levels of Special Operations Command. Drake paused. Someone who helped him shut down the original program. Kira went still. You're lying. Am I? Drake tilted his head. Think about it. Who had access to all of Victor's intelligence? Who knew exactly what mistakes to avoid? Who could rebuild the program from the inside without anyone noticing? Give me a name? Names are expensive. Drake's smile returned. What are you willing to trade? Your life. I'm already in custody. My life isn't yours to offer. Kira leaned forward. You're in custody now, but trials take years. Evidence gets lost. Witnesses disappear. Things happen. Her voice dropped. I've spent 3 years building a network of people who owe me favors, people in places you can't imagine. Do you really want to find out what I'm capable of when I stop playing by the rules? Drake's smile faltered. You're bluffing. Am I? Kira held his gaze. You told me I'm a weapon. Maybe you're right. Maybe there is something broken inside me, something that doesn't quite understand mercy. She paused. Do you really want to test that theory? Silence stretched between them. Then Drake laughed, but it was nervous now, uncertain. You're more like your father than I thought. The name, now. Drake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Admiral James Whitmore. Hayes inhaled sharply. That's impossible. Whitmore is the deputy commander of JSOC. He's been Victor's friend for 30 years. He gave the eulogy at his funeral. And he's been running Winterkill for the last 5. Drake's eyes never left Kira. Why do you think I needed to eliminate you tonight? It wasn't just about the evidence against me. Whitmore is scared of you. He's seen what you can do. He knows that if anyone can expose him, it's Victor Volkov's daughter. Kira's mind was racing. Admiral Whitmore. She had met him dozens of times. He had visited their house for dinners. He had given her a medal at her father's funeral. He had looked her in the eye and told her that Victor was the best man he ever knew. Proof, she said. Where's your proof? I don't have proof. That's why I'm still alive. Drake shrugged. Whitmore eliminates anyone who can connect him to Winterkill. I survived by being useful, by running his financial networks, by making sure the money stayed hidden. You're a loose end now. I know. For the first time, genuine fear showed in Drake's eyes. That's why I'm talking. Whitmore will try to have me killed before I can testify. The only way I survive is if you take him down first. Why should I trust anything you say? Because I'm terrified. Drake's voice cracked. I've seen what he does to people who cross him. I helped cover up some of it. If you don't stop him, he's going to activate the next phase of Winterkill. What phase? The graduates. Drake swallowed. The children who survived the program. They're grown now, embedded in positions across the government, military, intelligence, private sector, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all waiting for the signal to activate. The implications hit Dylan like a physical blow. You're talking about sleeper agents, raised from childhood, completely loyal. Loyal isn't the right word. Drake's laugh was hollow. They don't have a choice. The conditioning is absolute. When they receive the activation code, they won't hesitate. They'll eliminate anyone designated as a target. Politicians, generals, anyone who stands in Whitmore's way. When? Kira demanded. When is the activation? I don't know the exact date, but soon. Whitmore accelerated the timeline after your father started investigating. He knew Victor was getting close. He needed to be ready to move before everything collapsed. Hayes stepped forward. If what you're saying is true, why hasn't Whitmore activated already? Why wait? Because the program isn't complete. He needs something first. A key piece that's been missing for 3 years. Drake looked at Kira. Something your father took with him when he died. What? The activation codes. Victor stole them from the original program when he helped shut it down. Without those codes, Whitmore can't trigger the sleepers. He's been searching for them ever since. Kira's world tilted. The flash drive. The one her father had given her the night before he died. She had assumed it only contained evidence against Drake. But what if it contained more you didn't know? Drake's voice was soft, almost sympathetic. Victor never told you what was really on that drive. Shut up. He was protecting you, keeping you ignorant so you couldn't be targeted. Drake shook his head. But now Whitmore knows you have the drive. He'll come for you, and he won't stop until he has those codes. Kira felt like she couldn't breathe. 3 years. She had carried that drive for 3 years. She had backed it up, memorized the financial records, built her entire case around the evidence it contained. But she had never looked deeper, never questioned what else might be hidden in those encrypted files. "I need access to a secure terminal," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "Now." Hayes nodded. "Follow me." They left Drake in his cell, his mocking laughter echoing behind them. Dylan walked beside Kira in silence. He could see the wheels turning in her mind, the implications cascading. "If he's telling the truth," Dylan finally said, "then your father wasn't just investigating Drake. He was trying to stop something much bigger." "I know. And now that something bigger is coming for you." Kira stopped walking. She turned to face him. "It's been coming for me since the day my father died. I just didn't know it." Her jaw tightened. "But now I do. And that means I can fight back." If Whitmore is really running this, he has resources you can't imagine. People in every agency, eyes everywhere. He doesn't have everything. Kira's eyes were hard. He doesn't have the codes. He doesn't have the Phantom's network. And he doesn't have the one thing that's going to destroy him. "What's that?" She smiled. It was cold and sharp and full of her father's determination. "Me." The secure terminal was buried 3 levels beneath the compound. Kira's hands trembled as she inserted the flash drive. 3 years. She had carried this drive for 3 years. She had memorized every file she thought it contained. She had built her entire case around financial records and communications logs. She had never once considered there might be more. "Give me a minute," she muttered. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, bypassing security protocols with a speed that made Dylan's head spin. "My father hid something in here, something encrypted beneath the surface data." Hayes stood behind her, arms crossed. Victor was always paranoid about redundancy. He used to say that if you only had one copy of something important, you might as well have none. He was paranoid because people kept trying to kill him. Kira's voice was flat. Turns out he was right. The screen flickered. Lines of code scrolled past. Then something changed. "Got it." Kira leaned forward. "There's a partition I never saw before, hidden inside what looked like corrupted sectors. Can you access it?" "Already am." The files unpacked slowly. Names, dates, locations, photographs of children, some as young as 5 or 6. Dylan felt his stomach turn. "Jesus," he whispered. Kira said nothing. Her face had gone completely blank the way it did when she was processing something too painful to feel. "These are the winter kill subjects," Hayes said quietly. "The children who were recruited into the program." "Not recruited." Kira's voice was ice. "Taken. Look at the intake reports. Orphanages, foster systems, refugee camps. They targeted children nobody would miss." She scrolled through more files. Training schedules, psychological evaluations, medical records documenting chemical treatments. Then she stopped. "Oh God." Dylan moved closer. "What?" Kira was staring at a photograph. A young girl, maybe 7 years old, with dark hair and hollow eyes. The intake date was stamped in the corner. August 15th, 2006. I know her. Kira's voice cracked. Her name was Maya. She was in the foster home next to the base where my father was stationed in San Diego. I used to play with her. Kira. She disappeared one day. They said she got adopted by a family in another state. My father told me she went somewhere better. Her hands clenched. He lied to me. He knew what happened to her. He knew, and he didn't stop it. Hayes stepped forward. Victor didn't know. Not then. He didn't discover Winterkill until 2008, 2 years after Maya was taken. By then, it was too late. Kira's eyes were wet. She was already gone. Already turned into whatever they made her. She forced herself to keep scrolling. More photographs. More children. Each one documented with clinical precision. Then she found the activation codes. They were buried in a file labeled fail-safe. Her father had encrypted them with a key that only she would recognize. The opening notes of the lullaby he used to sing when she couldn't sleep. This is it, she said. The codes Drake mentioned. Without these, Whitmore can't activate the sleepers. Copy them, Hayes ordered. We need to get this to the NSA. They can... No. Hayes blinked. Excuse me, I'm not copying anything. Kira pulled the flash drive from the terminal. These codes are leverage, the only leverage we have. If we hand them over to the intelligence community, they'll disappear into some black site, and we'll never see them again. Kira, this isn't your decision to make. It became my decision the night my father gave me this drive. Kira stood facing the Admiral. He didn't give it to you. He didn't give it to JSOC or the NSA or anyone else. He gave it to me, because he knew that I was the only one who would do what needed to be done. And what exactly needs to be done? We use the codes to identify the sleepers, find them before Whitmore can activate them, deprogram them if we can, neutralize them if we can't. That could take months, year. Then we'd better start now. Hayes stared at her for a long moment. The tension between them was electric. Two women who had both loved Victor Volkov, both grieving him in different ways, both certain they knew what he would have wanted. Finally, Hayes spoke. You sound exactly like your father right now. Stubborn. Certain you're the only one who can fix everything. She shook her head. Victor was wrong about a lot of things. He was wrong to keep this from you. Wrong to think he could handle Winterkill alone. Wrong to believe that one person could take on an entire system. He was right about Drake. And he's dead because of it. Hayes's voice softened. I won't let you make the same mistake. Then help me. Kira stepped closer. You have resources I don't. Contacts, authority. We work together, we might actually have a chance. And if Whitmore finds out, he will find out. Probably already knows. Kira's jaw tightened. But he's scared. Drake said so himself. Whitmore is afraid of what I can do. That fear is an advantage. Before Hayes could respond, Dylan's radio crackled. We have incoming, a voice shouted through the static. Multiple helicopters approaching from the east. No transponders. They're not ours. Kira moved instantly. She grabbed Dylan's arm and pulled him toward the door. We need to move, now! What about the Admiral? Hayes was already drawing her sidearm. I'll coordinate the defense. You get that drive out of here. Admiral. That's an order, Kira. Hayes met her eyes. Your father died protecting that information. Don't let his sacrifice be worthless. Kira hesitated for just a second. Then she nodded. I'll come back for you. I know you will. Hayes smiled grimly. Now go. They ran. The corridor was chaos. Alarms screaming. soldiers scrambling for defensive positions. Somewhere above them, the first explosions began. "This doesn't make sense," Dylan shouted over the noise. "How did Whitmore mobilize a strike force this fast? Drake only gave us his name 20 minutes ago." "He didn't mobilize them." Kira's mind was racing. They were already coming. Drake's information was insurance in case the first attack failed. Whitmore planned for contingencies. So he's been planning to hit this compound all along. He's been planning to kill me all along. The compound is just collateral. They reached a junction. Left led to the main exit. Right led deeper into the facility. Kira went right. "Where are you going? The exit is..." "The exit is where they expect us to go." She pulled him along. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to a drainage system half a mile east. My father showed me the plans years ago." "Why would your father show you escape routes from a facility you'd never been to?" "Because my father planned for everything." Her voice caught. He knew this day might come. He just didn't know he wouldn't be here to see it. They descended through a series of access corridors. The sounds of battle faded above them. Kira navigated from memory, turning left, right, left again, without hesitation. Then she stopped. Someone was blocking the tunnel ahead. Marcus Brennan stepped out of the shadows. His face was pale, his hands were shaking, but the weapon he held was steady enough. "I can't let you leave," he said. Kira's hand moved toward her sidearm. "Don't." Brennan's voice cracked. "Please don't make me do this." "Brennan, what the hell are you doing?" Dylan moved forward. "Whitmore's people are attacking the compound. We need to evacuate." "I know who's attacking. I know why." Brennan's eyes were wet. "And I know what happens if she takes that drive off the base." Kira understood immediately. "Whitmore got to you." "He contacted me 6 months ago. Said he knew about my sister. Said he could tell me who was really responsible for the rocket that killed her." Brennan's weapon trembled. "He gave me names, locations, intelligence that I could never have accessed on my own. And in exchange, I keep an eye on anyone investigating certain programs. Report back if anyone gets too close." He swallowed. "I didn't know what Winterkill was. I didn't know what he was planning. I just wanted answers about Megan." "So you sold yourself to a man who turns children into weapons?" Kira's voice was cold. "Was it worth it? I didn't know." The weapon shook harder. "I thought he was helping me. You thought what you wanted to think, because the truth was too hard." Kira took a step forward. "I understand that better than you know. I spent 3 years believing my father was just an honest soldier who died in an accident, believing that because the alternative was too painful. Then you understand why I can't let you leave. I understand why you think you can't." Another step. "But you're wrong. Stay back. You're not going to shoot me, Brennan." Kira was close now, close enough to touch the barrel of his weapon. "You've done terrible things tonight. You've hurt innocent people. You've betrayed everything you swore to protect, but you're not a murderer." "How do you know that?" "Because I've spent 3 years studying warriors, learning what makes them fight, what makes them break, what makes them choose one path over another." She met his eyes. "You're broken, Brennan. But broken isn't the same as lost. You can still choose differently." The weapon wavered. "He'll kill me. If I let you go, Whitmore will kill me." "Maybe. Or maybe you help us stop him, and you get a chance to actually mean the apology you gave me earlier." Kira's voice softened. "My father used to say that the measure of a warrior isn't whether they fall, it's whether they get back up." "Your father's dead." "Yes, he is. Because he got back up one too many times." Her eyes never left his. "But he died fighting for something real, something that mattered." Can you say the same about the path you're on? Silence stretched between them. Then slowly Brennan lowered his weapon. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I'm so sorry. I know. Kira took the weapon from his hands. Now help us get out of here. They moved through the tunnels together, Brennan leading now, his knowledge of the facility filling gaps in Kira's memorized plans. There's a secondary exit through the old generator room, he said. Whitmore's people won't know about it. It was sealed off years ago after a flood. Can we get through? If we're fast. They reached the generator room. Dylan and Brennan worked together to pry open a rusted access panel while Kira watched their backs. Tell me about the sleepers, she said suddenly. Brennan froze. What? Whitmore must have told you something, given you some idea of the scope. How many are there? Where are they placed? I don't know exact numbers. Brennan's voice was barely audible, but he mentioned that they were everywhere. Military, intelligence, private sector. Some of them have been in position for over a decade. Do they know what they are? I don't think so. He said something about latent programming. They live normal lives until they're activated. Then they become something else entirely. Dylan yanked the panel open. We're through. They crawled through rusted pipes and collapsed sections of tunnel. Dylan's shoulders scraped against the walls. Brennan's breathing echoed in the confined space. Kira moved like she was born for this. Silent. Efficient. Every movement calculated. They emerged into pale morning light. The drainage outlet opened onto a wooded area half a mile from the compound. In the distance, smoke rose from multiple buildings. Helicopters circled overhead. We need transportation, Dylan said, and we need to get somewhere Whitmore's people can't find us. I have a safe house. Kira was already moving. My father set it up years ago, completely off the grid. Even the Admiral doesn't know about it. Where? West Virginia, old mining town that's been abandoned for decades. She glanced back at them. 3 hours if we move fast. They found an abandoned vehicle a mile down the road. Kira hot-wired it in under 30 seconds. Where did you learn to do that? Dylan asked. My father taught me. She didn't smile. He taught me a lot of things. They drove in silence for the first hour. Brennan sat in the back, staring out the window like a man watching his entire life collapse. Dylan kept checking their tail, looking for helicopters, waiting for the ambush that felt inevitable. It never came. Why aren't they following us? He finally asked. Whitmore has resources, satellites, surveillance. He should have tracked us by now. He's not trying to track us. Kira's eyes stayed on the road. He wants us to run, wants us to go somewhere isolated, somewhere his people can operate without witnesses. So we're walking into a trap. We're walking into his trap. But he's also walking into mine. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. A satellite phone. What are you doing? Making a call. She dialed a number from memory. After 3 rings, someone answered. Shadow Actual, she said. Authenticate Phantom 77. Silence on the other end. Then a voice. Young. Female. Surprised. Phantom. We thought you were dead. The compound. I'm not dead, and I need immediate support. Full network activation. Ma'am, the network hasn't been activated in 3 years. Most of us have been operating independently. We don't even know. Then it's time to come together. Kira's voice was steel. Winterkill is active. Admiral Whitmore is compromised, and I have the activation codes he's been searching for. Dead silence. Did you say Admiral Whitmore? I did. Ma'am, that's the deputy commander of JSOC. If you're wrong about this. I'm not wrong. I have documentation. I have witness testimony, and I have approximately 6 hours before he figures out where I'm going and sends a kill team. More silence. Then the voice returned harder now, more focused. What do you need? Everything. Every contact. Every asset. Every favor that's ever been owed to the Phantom Network. Kira paused. My father built this network to protect people like us, people who know the truth about what happens in the shadows. It's time to use it. Understood. We'll start making calls. One more thing. Kira's jaw tightened. I need everything you can find on a subject named Maya. Intake date, August 15th, 2006. San Diego region. What's her significance? She might be the key to everything. Kira closed her eyes for just a second. Or she might be the one they send to kill me. She ended the call. Dylan stared at her. You think your childhood friend is a winter-kill sleeper? I think nothing is coincidence when it comes to this program. Kira's hands tightened on the wheel. Maya disappeared the same year Winterkill was expanding, the same year my father was stationed in San Diego, the same year he first started noticing irregularities in special operations funding. You think Whitmore took her specifically because of your father? I think Whitmore has been playing a longer game than any of us realized. She glanced at him. My father wasn't just investigating Winterkill. He was a threat to it. Taking Maya might have been insurance, a weapon to use against him if he ever got too close. But he didn't get too close until 2008. No, he got too close in 2006. Kira's voice was bitter. He just didn't know it yet. Whitmore did. Whitmore saw the threat before my father even understood what he was looking at. From the back seat, Brennan spoke for the first time in an hour. There's something I didn't tell you. Kira's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. What? When Whitmore first contacted me, he asked about you. Specifically, he wanted to know everything I could find out about Viktor Volkov's daughter. That's not surprising. He's been trying to find me for years. No, you don't understand. Brennan leaned forward. He wasn't asking because he was afraid of you. He was asking because he was proud. Cold silence filled the vehicle. What did you just say? He said you were proof that the program worked. That Victor had done exactly what Winterkill was designed to do. Brennan's voice trembled. He said you were the most successful product of the entire operation. Kira's foot slammed on the brake. The vehicle skidded to a stop on the empty road. Dust billowed around them. Her knuckles were white on the steering wheel. That's impossible. Her voice was barely audible. My father would never. I'm just telling you what he said. Brennan looked terrified. He said Victor didn't just help shut down Winterkill. He helped design it. Years before anyone else. The techniques they used, the training protocols, the psychological conditioning. It was all based on how Victor raised you. Dylan reached for her arm. Kira, don't touch me. She jerked away. Her breathing was ragged. Her eyes were wild. He's lying. Whitmore is lying. My father wasn't part of that program. He stopped it. He gave his life trying to stop it. Maybe he was trying to stop what it became. Dylan's voice was gentle. Maybe the original idea was different. Something he believed in. And then it got twisted into something he couldn't recognize. No. Kira shook her head. No. My father was a good man. He loved me. He protected me. He wasn't. She stopped. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. All those lessons in the garage. All those techniques that seemed so natural. All those moments when he pushed her harder than any normal child should be pushed. I'm preparing you for a world that can be cruel. You have a gift, Kira. Something that can't be taught. Only developed. The measure of a warrior isn't how many enemies they destroy. It's how many people they help become better. What if the lessons weren't just preparation? What if they were something else entirely? Kira. Dylan's voice pulled her back. Whatever your father was or wasn't, it doesn't change who you are. You're not a product. You're not a weapon. You're a person who has saved lives, who has trained warriors, who chose to give Brennan a second chance instead of putting a bullet in his head. How do you know I chose that? Her voice was hollow. How do you know it wasn't just programming conditioning designed to make me seem human when I'm really just... Because I saw your face when you looked at Maya's photograph. Dylan moved closer. That wasn't programming, that was grief. Was real human grief for a friend you lost. What if the grief is programmed too? Then it's the most human programming I've ever seen. He reached for her hand. This time she didn't pull away. Listen to me. I don't care what Whitmore says. I don't care what your father did or didn't do. I've watched you fight. I've watched you make impossible decisions. I've watched you show mercy to people who didn't deserve it. That's not conditioning. That's character. Kira stared at their joined hands. I don't know what's real anymore. Then let me tell you what I know is real. Dylan squeezed gently. You're sitting in a car in the middle of nowhere with a man you just met and a man who tried to kill you. You're being hunted by one of the most powerful people in the military. You're carrying information that could bring down an entire shadow government. And instead of running, instead of hiding, you're planning to fight. He leaned closer. That's not programming, Kira. That's courage, the kind that can't be manufactured. She was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. We need to keep moving. Her voice was steadier now. Whitmore's people won't wait forever. She put the vehicle back in gear, but she didn't let go of Dylan's hand. The safe house was exactly where Kira remembered. An abandoned mining facility buried in the West Virginia mountains. No roads led directly to it. No satellites could penetrate the thick canopy. Her father had chosen it specifically because it was invisible to the world he had spent his life navigating. Now she understood why he needed a place to hide. We're here. She killed the engine. The silence that followed felt heavier than the hours of tension that had preceded it. Dylan scanned the surroundings. This is where Victor set up his backup. One of them. He had 3 that I know of, probably more that he never told me about. Kira's voice was flat. Apparently there was a lot he never told me about. Brennan climbed out of the back seat, his movements stiff from hours of sitting in silence. What now? Now we wait. Kira headed toward the main structure. My network is gathering intelligence. We should have actionable information within a few hours. And if Whitmore finds us first, then we improvise. The interior was exactly as Victor had left it. Supplies, communications equipment, weapons. Everything a man would need if the world he had helped build came crashing down around him. Kira ran her hand across a dusty console. Her father had touched this same surface, had planned for scenarios exactly like this one, had known even then that his past might one day catch up with him. You okay? Dylan's voice was soft. No. She didn't turn around. I'm questioning everything I thought I knew about the man who raised me. I'm wondering if every moment of my childhood was calculated, if every lesson was programming, if the person I loved most in the world was a monster hiding in plain sight. That's not... Don't. She finally faced him. Don't tell me it's not true. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows except the people who built Winterkill, and one of them is dead, and the other wants me eliminated. Dylan was quiet for a moment. You're right, he finally said. I don't know what your father was, but I know what you are, and that's enough for me. Before Kira could respond, a light on the console blinked. Incoming transmission. She activated the receiver. Phantom Actual. Ma'am, this is Shadow Network. We have the information you requested. Go ahead. Subject Maya intake August 2006. Real name Maya Chen. Current status active operative designation Echo 7. A pause. Ma'am, she's been embedded in naval intelligence for the past 4 years. Security clearance top secret. Current assignment. Let me guess. Kira's voice was ice. Special Operations Command. Yes, ma'am. She's Admiral Whitmore's personal aide. Dylan sucked in a breath. He kept her close, all these years. Of course he did. Kira's mind was racing. Maya was taken the same year my father started noticing problems. She was his insurance policy, his weapon against the Volkov family if we ever became a threat. What do? We find her. Kira turned back to the console. Shadow Network, I need Maya Chen's current location. Working on it. More silence. Ma'am, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Maya Chen departed JSOC headquarters approximately 6 hours ago. Her stated destination was the Virginia Beach compound. Kira went still. She was part of the attack. Unknown, but her timing suggests coordination. Where is she now? We lost track of her vehicle 2 hours ago. Last known position was... The operative paused. Ma'am, her last known position was a rural route in West Virginia, approximately 40 miles from your current location. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. She's coming here. Dylan's hand moved to his weapon. How is that possible? Nobody knows about this safe house. My father knew. Kira's voice was barely audible. And if Whitmore designed the original program based on how my father trained me, then he might have known about the safe houses too. Kira closed her eyes. Every assumption she had made was collapsing. Every plan she had built was crumbling. Shadow Network, how long until she arrives? At her last known speed, approximately 90 minutes. But ma'am, there's something else. What? We intercepted a communication between Maya Chen and Admiral Whitmore approximately 1 hour ago. The transmission was encrypted, but we managed to decode a fragment. Play it. Static crackled through the speakers. Then Maya's voice, young and cold and utterly empty of emotion. Target confirmed. Proceeding to secondary location. Estimated contact in 2 hours. Whitmore's response was calm, almost fatherly. Remember your training, Echo 7. Remember what they took from you. The Volkov girl is not your friend. She is the daughter of the man who abandoned you. Understood. Bring me the codes. Eliminate anyone who interferes. And the girl herself. A pause. Make it painful. She deserves to understand what her father created before she dies. The transmission ended. Kira stood frozen. Her childhood friend was coming to kill her. The girl she had played with, laughed with, shared secrets with, had been transformed into a weapon specifically designed to destroy her. We need to leave. Brennan was already moving toward the door. We can't fight a Winterkill operative. They're trained to... I know what they're trained to do. Kira's voice was sharp. I literally wrote the training manuals that inspired their curriculum. Then you know we can't win. No. Kira turned to face him. I know exactly how to win. The question is whether I'm willing to pay the price. Dylan stepped forward. What price? Maya isn't just coming to kill me. She's coming because Whitmore told her my father abandoned her. He's using her trauma against me. Kira's jaw tightened. But trauma works both ways. If I can reach the part of her that remembers who she was before Winterkill, you want to try to save her. Dylan's voice was incredulous. She's coming here to kill you, and you want to save her. She was my friend. Kira's eyes were wet. Before any of this, before Winterkill, before my father, she was just a scared little girl in a foster home who used to share her cookies with me during recess. And if there's any part of that girl still inside her, what if there isn't? Kira was quiet for a long moment. Then I do what I have to do. They spent the next hour preparing. Brennan secured the perimeter. Dylan checked weapons and ammunition. Kira sat alone with the flash drive, studying the files on Maya Chen with the intensity of someone memorizing a map to salvation. Maya had been 7 when Winterkill took her. She had undergone 4 years of conditioning before being placed in her first field position at 11. By 15, she had completed her first elimination. By 18, she had been responsible for 12 confirmed kills. And through it all, she had been told that Kira Volkov was the monster who created the program, that his daughter was the privileged princess who lived free while Maya suffered, that vengeance against the Volkov family was the only thing that would ever make her whole. Whitmore had built the perfect weapon against Kira, not through training or technology, but through lies. "She's here." Dylan's voice cut through her thoughts. Kira looked up to see him standing at the window, weapon raised. "How many?" "Just one vehicle. She came alone." "Of course she did." Kira stood slowly. "Winterkill operatives don't need backup. They're trained to be a one-person army." "What's the plan?" "I go out alone." "Like hell you do." "Dylan." Kira's voice was firm. "If you or Brennan interfere, she'll see you as threats. She'll eliminate you without hesitation. But if it's just me, she'll eliminate you without hesitation. That's literally what Whitmore ordered." "Maybe. Or maybe she'll hesitate just long enough." Kira moved toward the door. "Maya and I played together for 2 years. We were children. Before the program, before the lies, before any of this. Somewhere inside her, those memories exist. I have to believe that. And if you're wrong..." Kira paused at the threshold. She looked back at him, and for just a moment she let him see the fear beneath the certainty. "Then make sure the flash drive gets to Admiral Hayes. Make sure Whitmore pays for what he's done." She walked out into the fading light. Maya Chen was standing 50 feet away. She looked exactly like her photograph, but older now. 23 years of age, dark hair pulled back, eyes that held absolutely nothing. She was holding a knife, not a gun. A knife. Personal. Intimate. This was meant to be painful, just like Whitmore ordered. "Hello, Maya." Kira kept her voice calm. Her hands were empty, raised slightly. Non-threatening. "Don't call me that." Maya's voice was flat. "My designation is Echo 7. Maya Chen died 16 years ago." "No, she didn't." Kira took a slow step forward. "I remember Maya Chen. She had a birthmark on her left wrist shaped like a heart. She was afraid of thunderstorms. She used to hum when she was happy, even when she didn't realize she was doing it." Something flickered in Maya's eyes. Just for a second. "Those are lies. Implanted memories designed to... They're not lies. They're the truth. You and I played together when we were children, before Winterkill, before Whitmore, before any of this. Whitmore told me about you." Maya's grip tightened on the knife. "You're the Volkov girl, the princess who got to grow up free while I was turned into this. Your father created the program that destroyed me. That's what Whitmore told you. But Whitmore lies." Kira took another step. "My father didn't create Winterkill. He helped shut it down. He gave his life trying to stop what they did to you." More lies. "Then why am I here?" Kira spread her hands. "If my father was the monster Whitmore claims, why would I have spent 3 years trying to expose the program? Why would I have risked everything to find the truth about what happened to children like you?" Maya hesitated. The knife wavered. "You're trying to manipulate me. That's what they warned me about. The Volkov family specializes in psychological manipulation." "Is that what this feels like?" Kira's voice softened. "Does this feel like manipulation? Or does it feel like someone who remembers the girl you used to be?" "I don't remember anything." "Yes, you do." Another step. "You remember the cookies, chocolate chip, your favorite. You used to break them in half and give me the bigger piece because you said I was too skinny." Maya's breathing changed. Faster now, unsteady. "Stop it. You remember the thunderstorm, the night the power went out at the foster home and you crawled into my bed because you were scared. I held your hand until the storm passed. Stop talking. You remember the last day, the day the men in black came and took you away. You were crying. You reached for me. You said my name. You said, 'Stop!'" Maya lunged. Kira didn't fight back. She let the knife come. Let Maya drive her to the ground. Let the blade press against her throat hard enough to draw blood. "Go ahead." Kira's voice was steady, even with steel against her jugular. "Kill me, if that's what you need to do. If destroying me is the only way you can feel whole." Maya's hand trembled. Her face was inches away. Up close, Kira could see the scars. The ones on her neck, her arms, marks from years of training that crossed the line into torture. "But before you do," Kira continued, "ask yourself one question. If everything Whitmore told you is true, why did he send you alone? Why didn't he come himself? Because I'm the weapon. I'm designed for this. You're designed to be disposable." Kira held her gaze. "Think about it, Maya. You know the codes exist. You know they're the key to activating every sleeper in the program. Whitmore wants those codes more than anything. If he trusted you, he would be here himself ready to take them the moment I'm dead." Maya's knife hand shook harder. "He sent you alone because he doesn't expect you to survive. He expects you to kill me, get the codes, and then he'll eliminate you to tie up loose ends. You're not his weapon, Maya. You're his sacrifice. You're lying. Am I?" Kira didn't blink. "Radio him. Right now. Ask him what happens after you complete the mission. Ask him where you're supposed to go. Ask him if there's a future for you in his plans." Maya didn't move. The knife stayed at Kira's throat. "You can't, can you, because you already know the answer. You've known it for years. You just couldn't let yourself see it." Silence stretched between them. The only sound was their breathing and the wind through the trees. Then Maya spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "He said I was special. He said I was the best operative in the program. He said when everything was over, I would finally have a home, a family, everything that was taken from me. And you believed him. I had to believe him." Maya's voice cracked. "I had nothing else, no memories, no identity, no purpose except what they gave me. If I stopped believing, I would have what?" A tear slid down Maya's cheek. "I would have had to face what they made me, what I've done, the people I've killed." Her voice broke. "Do you know what it's like to wake up every morning knowing you're a monster, knowing that every skill you have, every instinct, every reflex exists only to destroy?" Kira reached up slowly, carefully. She wrapped her hand around Maya's knife hand. "Yes," she said quietly. "I know exactly what that's like." Maya stared at her. "I spent 3 years wondering if I was real, if anything about me was genuine or if it was all just programming. I looked in the mirror and couldn't tell if the person looking back was human or weapon." Kira's grip tightened. "I'm still not sure. I might never be sure, but I've learned something that Whitmore never wanted either of us to know." "What? It doesn't matter what they made us. It matters what we choose to become." The knife clattered to the ground. Maya collapsed against her, sobbing. 16 years of conditioning, 16 years of lies, 16 years of believing she was nothing but a tool, all of it crumbling in the space between heartbeats. Kira held her. The way she should have held her 16 years ago, when the men in black came and took her friend away. "I've got you," she whispered. "I've got you. You're not alone anymore." They stayed like that for a long time. Finally, Maya pulled back, Her face was wet. Her eyes were different now, not empty, something human flickering behind them. Whitmore will know I failed. He'll send others. Let him. Kira stood pulling Maya up with her. We have something he doesn't. What? The truth, and someone who knows exactly how the sleeper program works. Maya's expression shifted. Understanding dawning. You want me to help you stop it, help you deprogram the others. I want you to help yourself. Kira met her eyes. The first step to becoming something other than what they made you is choosing to fight against it. Help me destroy Winterkill, and maybe we both get a chance to figure out who we really are. Maya was quiet for a long moment. He'll kill us both. Maybe. Probably. Kira smiled grimly. But at least we'll die as ourselves, not as what they designed us to be. Dylan and Brennan emerged from the safe house. They had watched everything through the window weapons ready, but never fired. Is it over? Dylan asked. No. Kira looked at Maya. It's just beginning. Maya straightened. The tears were drying. Something else was replacing them. Purpose. Whitmore has a backup facility, a place where he keeps the activation equipment. If he can't get the codes from you, he'll try to find another way to trigger the sleepers. Where? A black site in Montana, underground, heavily guarded. Maya's jaw tightened. I can get us in. I have the access codes. Why would you help us, after everything? Maya looked at her. Really looked at her. And for just a second, Kira saw the ghost of the little girl who used to share her cookies. Because you were right. Somewhere inside me, Maya Chen isn't dead. She's been screaming for 16 years and no one could hear her. Her voice hardened. It's time to let her out. Kira nodded slowly. Then let's finish this. Behind them, the sun was setting. In front of them, the road stretched into darkness. And somewhere in Montana, Admiral James Whitmore was waiting, not knowing that his most trusted weapon had just become his greatest enemy. They drove through the night. Maya sat in the front passenger seat, her eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. She hadn't spoken in hours, but her hands moved constantly, tracing patterns on her thighs that Kira recognized as stress responses. 16 years of conditioning didn't disappear in one conversation. Maya was fighting a war inside herself, and all Kira could do was give her the space to fight it. How much further? Dylan asked from the back seat. 6 hours. Maya's voice was hoarse. The facility is buried in the Bitterroot Mountains. No roads lead directly to it. We'll have to hike the last 8 miles. And the security, 12 guards on rotating shifts, motion sensors, thermal imaging, pressure plates on every approach. Maya paused. I can get us past all of it, but once we're inside, Whitmore will know we're coming. Let him know. Kira's grip tightened on the wheel. I want him to see me coming. Brennan leaned forward. This is suicide. We're 4 people against a fortified military installation run by a man who's been planning this for decades. We're not just 4 people. Kira glanced at him in the rearview mirror. I activated the Phantom Network. By the time we reach Montana, we'll have support waiting. What kind of support? Every operator I've ever trained who isn't compromised. Every contact my father built over 30 years. Every person who owes a debt to the Volkov name. Her jaw tightened. Whitmore thinks he's the only one who's been building a network. He's wrong. They stopped once to refuel. Dylan took over driving while Kira studied the facility schematics Maya had sketched from memory. The activation equipment is on the lowest level, Maya explained. 3 floors underground. Even if Whitmore doesn't have the codes, he's been working on a bypass. Something that could trigger the sleepers without the original activation sequence. How close is he? I don't know. He never told me details. Maya's voice wavered. I was just a weapon to him. Tools don't need to understand the bigger picture. Kira reached out and touched her arm. You're not a tool. Not anymore. Maya didn't respond, but she didn't pull away either. As dawn broke over the mountains, they rendezvoused with the Phantom Network. 12 operatives had answered Kira's call. Men and women she had trained over 3 years, all of them loyal to the legend of Kira Volkov. Ma'am? A tall woman in tactical gear approached. Her name was Rivera. She had been one of Kira's first students. We have the perimeter mapped. Guard rotations confirmed. We can breach in 6 hours. We don't have 6 hours. Kira studied the terrain. Whitmore knows Maya failed to check in. He'll be accelerating his timeline. Then what do you suggest? We go now. Maya gets us inside. The rest of you handle extraction and containment. Kira met Rivera's eyes. Whatever happens in that facility, the sleepers cannot be activated. If we fail, your priority is destroying the equipment, not saving us. Rivera hesitated. Ma'am, that's an order. The woman nodded slowly. Understood. They moved out as the sun climbed higher. Maya led them through a series of hidden approaches, each one designed to avoid detection. Every sensor she had mentioned, she knew how to bypass. Every guard rotation she anticipated perfectly. How did you memorize all this? Dylan whispered. I didn't memorize it. I designed it. Maya's voice was bitter. Whitmore had me create the security protocols. He wanted them to be impenetrable. Then how are we getting through? Because I always leave myself an exit. She glanced back at him. Even when I didn't know why I was doing it, some part of me was always planning to escape. They reached the facility entrance in just under 2 hours. The door was hidden in a rock face, invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. Maya pressed her palm against a concealed scanner. Echo 7. Authorization code 97 Alpha. The door hissed open. Won't that alert them? Brennan asked. It should, but I'm supposed to be here. Maya stepped inside. I'm supposed to be delivering Kira's body. As far as the system knows, I'm completing my mission. They descended into darkness. The facility was cold, clinical. The walls were bare concrete, the lighting harsh and fluorescent. It felt like a tomb. 3 floors down, Maya whispered. Stay close. Don't touch anything. They moved through corridors that seemed designed to disorient, left turns that led nowhere, right turns that circled back, a maze built to trap anyone who didn't know the pattern. Maya knew the pattern. Stop, she held up a hand. Guard station ahead. 2 men. Can we go around? No, this is the only way to the lower levels. Kira drew her weapon. Then we go through. The guards never saw them coming. Kira and Maya moved in perfect synchronization, as if they had been fighting together their entire lives. 2 shots. 2 bodies. Silence. Dylan stared at them. That was training. Kira ejected her magazine and replaced it with a fresh one. The program my father created. The same techniques Winterkill adapted. She met his eyes. Whatever they made Maya into, they made me into something similar. The only difference is who was holding the leash. They kept moving. The second level was worse. Cells lined the walls. Small. Dark. Through the narrow windows, Kira could see what was inside. Children. Oh God. Brennan's voice cracked. There are kids in there. Current subjects. Maya's voice was hollow. The next generation of sleepers. They've been here for years. We have to get them out. We will. Kira forced herself to keep moving. But first we stop Whitmore. If he activates the existing sleepers, thousands of people die. These children have a chance. Those people don't. It was the hardest decision she had ever made. walking past those cells, hearing the soft sounds from inside, knowing that every second she delayed was a second of suffering. But she kept walking. The third level was different. No cells, no security stations, just one long corridor leading to a single door. "He's in there." Maya stopped. "The activation chamber. Whitmore and whatever team he has left." "How many?" "I don't know. I was never allowed inside." "You were his personal aide, and you never saw the activation chamber. Nobody sees it. Nobody except Whitmore himself." Maya's hands were shaking. "He always said the activation was his alone, his moment of triumph." Kira studied the door. Reinforced steel, biometric lock, probably booby-trapped. "Can you open it?" "I don't have clearance." "Then we make our own clearance." Kira pulled a charge from her pack. "Everyone back." The explosion shook the entire level. The door buckled, but held. Kira fired again, this time targeting the weakened hinges. The third blast brought it down. Admiral James Whitmore was waiting for them. He stood in front of a massive console, his uniform immaculate, his silver hair perfectly combed. Behind him, screens displayed data streams and activation sequences, numbers counting down. "Kira Volkov." He smiled. "Victor's daughter. I was wondering when you'd arrive." "Step away from the console. Or what, you'll shoot me." Whitmore spread his hands. "Go ahead. It won't stop the activation. The sequence is already running. In approximately 8 minutes, every sleeper in the program will receive their trigger signal." "You're bluffing. You don't have the codes." "I don't need the codes anymore." Whitmore's smile widened. "Did you really think I spent 15 years building this program without a contingency? The bypass is complete. Your father's safeguards are worthless." Kira's blood ran cold. "Maya." She didn't take her eyes off Whitmore. "Can you stop it?" Maya moved to a secondary console, her fingers flying across the keys. "I'm trying. The encryption is—" She froze. "He's telling the truth. The activation is locked. I can't override it. There has to be something. A fail-safe, an abort code." "There is." Whitmore's voice was calm, almost gentle. "But only I know it, and I have no intention of sharing." 7 minutes. "Why?" Kira took a step forward. "Why build this? Why destroy so many lives?" "Destroy?" Whitmore laughed. "I'm not destroying anything. I'm perfecting. The world is full of chaos, Kira. Governments rise and fall. Wars start and end. Alliances shift like sand. But the sleepers, they're constant. They're mine. No matter who sits in the White House or the Pentagon, my people will be there. Watching. Waiting. Ready to act when I give the word." "That's insane." "That's vision." His eyes burned with certainty. "Your father had the same vision once. He understood that the future belongs to those who control the shadows. But he lost his nerve. He let sentiment blind him to what we were building. My father shut down Winterkill because it was evil." "Your father shut down Winterkill because of you." Whitmore's voice hardened. "He saw you growing up. Saw what the training was doing to you. Saw the weapon he was creating. And he couldn't stomach it. So he destroyed 15 years of work to protect his precious daughter." 6 minutes. "He didn't destroy everything. He took the codes. He left a fail-safe in place. He thought he was being clever, keeping the codes as insurance, something to use if we ever tried to rebuild." Whitmore shook his head. "But he underestimated me. He always did. I've spent the last 3 years finding a way around his safeguards, and now finally I've succeeded." "You killed him." Kira's voice broke. "You killed my father because he was trying to stop you." "I killed your father because he was weak. He had the chance to shape history, and he threw it away for sentiment. For love." Whitmore's lip curled. Love is the enemy of greatness, Kira. It's the chain that holds back those of us who can see further. 5 minutes. Ma'am. Maya's voice was desperate. I can't stop it. The only way to abort is a manual shutdown of the entire facility. That would require destroying the power core. Where is it? Below us. One more level down. But it's surrounded by... I'll do it. Brennan stepped forward. Tell me where to go. I'll destroy the core. Kira stared at him. That's a suicide mission. I know. His voice was steady. I've spent the last 2 days realizing what kind of man I've been. The things I've done. The people I've hurt. He met her eyes. You gave me a chance to be better. Let me take it. Brennan, there's no time to argue. He was already moving toward the door. Tell me where to go, Maya. Maya hesitated for just a second. Then she rattled off directions, her voice precise and mechanical. Brennan nodded once. He looked at Kira. Tell the world what happened here. Make sure it means something. He was gone before she could respond. 4 minutes. Touching, when Whitmore was still smiling. The guilty man seeking redemption through sacrifice. Your father would have appreciated the poetry. Shut up. Oh, I've upset you. I'm sorry. He didn't sound sorry. But you should know, even if your friend reaches the power core, he won't have time to destroy it. The activation will complete before the facility loses power. He'll find a way. Will he? A broken man running through corridors he doesn't know, trying to find a target he's never seen? Whitmore shook his head. Hope is a beautiful thing, Kira, but it doesn't change mathematics. 3 minutes. Dylan raised his weapon. Give us the abort code. Now! Or what, you'll kill me. Whitmore laughed. I'm already dead, young man. This moment, this activation, this is my legacy. Everything I've worked for comes down to these final minutes. Do you really think I care about dying? Maybe you don't care about dying. Kira holstered her weapon. But you care about being remembered. Something flickered in Whitmore's eyes. You said it yourself. Vision. Legacy. You want to shape history. You want to be the man who controlled the shadows. Kira took a step closer. But what happens if nobody knows? What happens if the activation occurs and the sleepers complete their missions and nobody ever learns that James Whitmore was behind it? They'll know. Will they? She took another step. The sleepers don't know who controls them. The government doesn't know Winterkill exists. Even the people you've placed in positions of power don't know your name. Her voice dropped. You've spent your entire life building something that will outlive you, but your name dies tonight. Nobody will remember you. Nobody will honor you. You'll be forgotten. Whitmore's smile faltered. 2 minutes. Give me the abort code, Kira said. Stop the activation, and I'll make sure the world knows exactly what you built. Your vision, your legacy. Everything you accomplished. You're lying. Am I? She met his eyes. You know what I am. You helped create me. My father's techniques. Your program's philosophy. I'm everything you designed a perfect operative to be. And perfect operatives don't lie. Not when the truth serves their purpose better. Whitmore stared at her. The certainty in his eyes was flickering. The fanatic's conviction crumbling against something older, ego, the need to be remembered. You would make me famous. I would make you immortal. Kira's voice was soft, seductive. History books, documentaries, academic studies. Everyone would know the name James Whitmore, the man who almost changed the world. 1 minute. Almost. Whitmore's voice was barely a whisper. You would let me be remembered as a failure. I would let you be remembered as a visionary who was stopped by something he didn't anticipate. That's more than most people ever get. 30 seconds. Whitmore's hand moved toward the console. Omega 77, he said quietly. Authorization Whitmore Alpha. The countdown stopped. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Whitmore laughed. A broken sound nothing like his earlier mockery. You really are Victor's daughter. He could talk anyone into anything when he wanted to. He looked at her with something almost like respect. You won't honor your promise. I know that. The moment I'm in custody, my name will be buried so deep that nobody will ever find it. Probably. Kira lowered her weapon. But you had to hope, didn't you? That's the thing about legacy. We'll do anything to believe we'll be remembered. Maya moved to the console. I'm purging the activation system, destroying the bypass. Once this is done, the sleepers can only be triggered by the original codes. The codes on my father's flash drive. Yes. Kira pulled the drive from her pocket. Such a small thing. So much death encoded in its circuits. Can you destroy them? If you want. For a long moment, Kira stared at the drive. Her father had given his life protecting this information, had trusted her with the power to trigger or prevent a catastrophe. She handed it to Maya. Destroy everything. The codes, the bypass, the entire system. I want Winterkill to end here tonight forever. Maya nodded. Her fingers moved across the keys with purpose. As the files deleted one by one, Dylan's radio crackled. This is Brennan. I reached the power core. The facility is clear. All hostiles neutralized. Brennan. Kira grabbed the radio. The activation is stopped. Get out of there. Static. Then his voice tired but alive. Copy that. On my way back. Kira closed her eyes. She had expected him to die. Had accepted it as the cost of stopping Whitmore. But he had survived. Maybe redemption didn't always require sacrifice. Maybe sometimes it just required the willingness to try. It's done. Maya stepped back from the console. Winterkill is finished. Whitmore laughed again. Softer now. Almost sad. You think destroying a computer system ends this? The sleepers are still out there. Hundreds of them. All that conditioning. All that programming. It doesn't just disappear. No. Kira turned to face him. But now they have a chance. A chance to be something other than what you made them. A chance to choose. They'll never be normal. They'll never be free of what was done to them. Maybe not. Kira looked at Maya. But they can learn to live with it. They can find purpose beyond destruction. They can become more than the weapons they were designed to be. Maya met her eyes. Something passed between them. Understanding. Hope. That's naive, Whitmore said. That's human. Kira stepped closer to him. And that's something you'll never understand. You built your entire empire on the idea that people are tools to be controlled. But you were wrong. People are more than their programming, more than their trauma, more than what others try to make them. She leaned in close. That's why you lost. Not because I outsmarted you. Not because my father left fail-safes. You lost because you never understood that the weapons you built were people first. And people choose. Always. Military police arrived within the hour. Admiral Hayes led them personally, her face grim but triumphant. It's over, Kira told her. Winterkill is destroyed. The sleepers are safe. And the children, the ones in the cells. Freed. Rivera's team is evacuating them now. They'll need years of therapy, deprogramming, care. Kira's voice softened. But they have a chance. That's more than they had this morning. Hayes nodded slowly. And you, What happens to you now? Kira looked around, at Dylan standing loyal beside her, at Maya uncertain but no longer empty, at Brennan battered but somehow more whole than before. I don't know, she admitted. I've spent 3 years being the Phantom, hiding behind a mask, fighting a war nobody knew existed. Now that war is over, and I have to figure out who Kira Volkov actually is. Your father would be proud of you. Maybe. Kira touched the tattoo on her wrist, 3 dots in a triangle, the same symbol she had seen on Maya's file, the same mark her father had worn. Or maybe he'd be disappointed that I didn't just destroy everything, that I believed people could change. That's not disappointment. That's growth. Hayes put a hand on her shoulder. Victor was a brilliant man, but he was also afraid. Afraid of what he'd helped create. Afraid of what it meant for you. He spent his whole life preparing you to fight, because that was all he knew. And now you get to show him that there's more than fighting, that the warriors he trained can become healers too. 6 months later. Kira stood in a rehabilitation center watching a group of former Winterkill subjects participate in their daily therapy session. Some of them were children. Some were adults, sleepers, who had come forward after the program's exposure to seek help. All of them were healing. Maya sat beside her, observing the same session. She had become instrumental in the deprogramming process. Who better to help former weapons become people than someone who had walked the same path? The younger ones are adapting faster, Maya said quietly. Their conditioning wasn't as deep. And the older ones, slower, but they're trying. Maya paused. I'm trying. I know. Kira squeezed her hand. I see it every day. Dylan appeared in the doorway. He had resigned his commission after Virginia Beach, choosing to work with Kira instead of returning to the teams. Some of his former colleagues called him a traitor. He didn't care. You have a visitor, he said. Brennan walked in behind him. He looked different, lighter somehow. The haunted look that had defined him in Virginia Beach was fading, replaced by something more peaceful. Senior Chief? And Kira nodded. How's the counseling? Hard, good, both. He managed a small smile. The peer support group has 40 members now, all of them dealing with things they never talked about before. I'm glad. I came to tell you something. He straightened, falling into a posture that was pure military. I'm not the same man who hurt you in that compound. I'll never be able to undo what I did, but I'm becoming someone else, someone better. I know. I wanted to say thank you for giving me the chance. His voice cracked slightly. Most people would have destroyed me. You gave me something to build instead. Kira remembered her father's words. The measure of a warrior is not how many enemies they destroy. It's how many people they help become better. My father used to say that the hardest thing in the world is giving someone the chance to be better than their worst moment. She met Brennan's eyes. But that's exactly what makes it worth doing. After Brennan left, Kira walked alone to the memorial garden they had built on the facility grounds, a small space with a simple stone marker. Victor Volkov, 1965 to 2022. Father, warrior, teacher. She knelt beside it. I don't know if you can hear me, she said quietly. I don't know if any of this matters to you now, but I wanted you to know I understand. She touched the stone. You weren't perfect. You made mistakes. You helped create something terrible because you believed in it, and then you spent the rest of your life trying to fix it. I used to think you were a hero. Then I thought you were a monster. Now I know you were just a man who loved his daughter enough to give her the tools to finish what he started. Tears slid down her cheeks. The program is gone. The The sleepers are being helped. The children you couldn't save, I'm saving them now. Every day a few more of them learn that they're more than what they were made to be. She stood wiping her eyes. I don't know if that's enough to redeem what you helped create. I don't know if anything could ever be enough, but I'm going to keep trying. Not because I forgive you, not because I understand you, but because that's what you taught me to do. She looked at the sky. The sun was setting, painting everything in gold. You said the measure of a warrior is how many people they help become better. So that's what I'm doing. One person at a time, one day at a time, until everyone who was broken by Winterkill has a chance to be whole. She kissed her fingers and pressed them to the stone. Goodbye, Dad. I'll make you proud. She walked back to the facility. Dylan was waiting by the door. Everything okay? Yeah. She took his hand. Everything is exactly what it needs to be. Inside, Maya was working with a new group of subjects. Her voice was patient, kind, nothing like the hollow operative who had come to kill Kira in that West Virginia safe house. Nearby, a young girl was laughing at something one of the therapists said. She was maybe 8 years old, a former Winterkill subject who had been in darkness for 3 years. She was laughing now. Kira watched her, and something settled in her chest. Something that felt like peace. She had spent her whole life being told she was a weapon, a tool, something designed rather than born. But standing here watching broken people learn to be whole, she finally understood what her father had been trying to teach her all along. Warriors don't fight for destruction. They fight so others don't have to. They carry the weight of violence so that someone else can carry the weight of healing. She had been both. Now she was choosing to be more. The girl looked up and saw her watching. She smiled bright and innocent and waved. Kira waved back. Somewhere in the distance, church bells were ringing. Evening settling over the mountains. Another day ending. Another chance to begin again. She was 20 years old. She had trained half the Navy SEALs in America. She had taken down a conspiracy that stretched across decades. She had saved children who had no one else to save them. And she was just getting started. Because the measure of a warrior isn't how many enemies they destroy. It's how many people they help become better. Kira Volkov had finally become the warrior her father always believed she could be. Not a weapon. A healer. And that was enough. That was everything.